All right, hello everyone. Today we'll get started with the machine coding round questions. And generally, machine coding rounds may we understand कि somebody actually gives us a bigger question wherein कि suppose do a stopwatch timer or something like that. Lekin one of the important questions of machine coding rounds are also polyfills basically. And Array.flat is one of the important polyfills for which बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन कंपनीज को पूछते हैं एंड जनरली ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि somebody asks कि write a polyfill and then gives you 30 minutes, लेकिन कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि if it is not a machine coding round, even then the interviewer says कि okay, can you share your screen, and then they'll tell कि okay, can you just quickly write a polyfill for array.flat or any of the polyfills. Polyfills are equally important. It is actually a like deciding factor on what the interviewer may look into a candidate. Okay, so without wasting time, let's dive into polyfill for array.flat. So without further delay, without writing the code, first let's understand key what is array.flat and how it is actually helpful. So for that we should always look up for Mozilla developer documentation or for MDN, which we say. So it clearly says that okay, suppose I have an array and basically I have a nested array. We can see that okay, I have a 0th index, 0 है, first index में first है, and then I have a nested array, उसमें और एक nesting है and उसमें और एक nesting है, and suppose I want to flatten it out, then I can do something like ar2 of flat, and then you can see that it is flattened to some extent. जैसे कि 2 in nested में था, now it is outside, लेकिन इसमें भी you can see that okay, I still have multiple arrays here. Why? Because array.flat जो है it only flattens to the first level. जैसे कि you can see that 2 is nested, but it is nested to the first level, that is why it is got flattened up, whereas 3 and 4 they did not get flattened up because वो nested के अंदर है, so that is why they are not the first level nested arrays which is present, that is why they did not get flattened up. So how do we actually go ahead and flatten an entire array altogether, या फिर नहीं मेरे को 2 nesting तक ही allowed है. So for that, array.flat actually takes in another parameter, which is an optional parameter called depth करके, and we can go ahead and pass a number. We can also pass infinity so that it can go ahead and flatten to the nth level or infinity level basically. So this is an optional parameter. If we do not pass it, we will not get anything, and it will basically flatten to level 1. Otherwise, if we pass anything, it will flatten to nth level, या फिर infinity pass करेंगे तो it will flatten the entire array no matter कितना भी nesting हुआ है. So let us now go to write the polyfill for that. You may have a VS Code ready या फिर a code editor ready, but I would always recommend you to use code sandbox, because इसमें क्या होता है कि you can quickly create files which are specific to a particular code, or generally if you're someone who is planning for an interview, generally the most chosen way would be कि okay, please open code sandbox or any online editor. तो इसमें क्या है कि if you are trying with VS Code, you may have a lot of extensions जो आपको code suggestions दे देंगे or something like that, and if you are not familiar with the online setup, then that maybe you may find it a little bit odd, even though technically it's not something which we can distinguish from. So let's get started. So I'll take this example altogether, and I will just copy this down. और यहाँ पे अगर हम paste कर लेते हैं, let me open this console log, because we actually do not need closure from this. And don't worry about this being rendered multiple times, क्योंकि वो क्या होता है कि auto save पे render हो जाता है. So if you can see that I have this array and I wrote a flat, and then as expected, it actually did to nth level. So probably I'll write a depth of 10, and then now I can see that everything is actually flattened. Now we'll have to write a polyfill for this. Before actually going ahead and writing a polyfill, let us first see if we can write a function जो कि flatten कर सकता है, and then we will think about writing a polyfill, right? So first steps first, I can write a function called I have okay function जो कि flatten है, and यहाँ पे definitely what values am I going to need is I'm going to need an array of course जिसको मेरे को flatten करना है, and I'll take depth also, and let me just write it d, and then I will just take a loop basically, or फिर let I is equal to 0, I less than arr dot length, and then I plus plus. So इसमें क्या हुआ कि we will go ahead and traverse to each of the elements of the array, and अब हम देखेंगे कि अगर एक element is an array, that means we have to move to the nth level, तो उसके लिए we have to write a logic. But if that particular element is not an array altogether, then probably it is a normal element, और फिर हम उसको as is रख सकते हैं, right? So for that what I am going to do is कि I am going to take something like key const final array like this, and I am going to write a if condition, and I'll just check array dot is array of value, and what will be this value is basically arr of I. तो अगर ये array है, then we will think of कि how इसको flatten करेंगे. अगर ये array नहीं है, then it is a normal element, and then what we can do is कि we can just go ahead and push it to the final array. Alright, and we will have to go ahead and return this final array. Okay, now what we should do if basically we encounter an array. अगर जैसे if I could go and give you a dry run, the first element becomes 0. So arr of 0 में 0 है, and then we say that is it an array? No, it's not an array. तो final array में आपका आ गया 0. उसके बाद we move to 1, and then we say that okay, is it an array? No. So यहाँ पे final array में push हो गया 0 और 1. In fact, this will happen here. 0 and 1, and then फिर बोला कि okay, what is the next element? The next element is basically this. So think that okay, is it an array? Then we said that okay, it is an array, and then now we have to go ahead and flatten this. So how do we actually go ahead and flatten this basically? So for this, we can recursively call flatten with basically कि okay, अब instead of arr, go ahead and flatten this out, right? तो उसको क्या कैसे करेंगे हम लोग? I can just write flatten, and I can do arr of I, right? So इसमें okay, it is expecting a depth value, so I'll just go ahead and give 10 suppose, okay, and we will just see how we can manage this depth. अभी depth नहीं सोचते हैं, अभी सोचते हैं कि okay, it flattens to infinity suppose. So now अभी यहाँ पे what is the value of arr of I? This value in this instance is going to be 2, and then I have 3, and then I have 4, 5. इस इंस्टेंस में error of I का वैल्यू ये आ गया। अब we recursively called flatten, तो अभी क्या होगा कि नेक्स्ट इटरेशन में बेसिकली this error of I इसको इटरेट करेगा this value, and once it iterates through this basically it came across 2 which will not be an array, so ये इसको push कर लेगा। then it came across 3 जो इसे कि okay it is an array, then it will recursively call flatten again, and this is how it's going to resolve them, and then it will push it to the final array, and like this the final array will actually be formed. So abhi let us just go ahead and call this and then see that if we are actually able to get the desired output. I'll just do console.log and I'll just do flatten, and then I'll just pass ARR of 2 here, and of course let me pass a depth of 10, but we will see how we can implement this little bit later on, but I think that should be all. If I go ahead and save this, I can see that it did not work because I only have 0 and 1, which I push to this. Okay. All right, because मैं final array को इस flatten के अंदर लिख रहा था, it was creating an instance of this function always new, that is why it was not able to push to the global array, final array. So now you can see that I have the final list here, and now how we can implement depth basically. Now अगर हम लोग if we are able to implement it to the infinity level, then we can go ahead and easily implement it to some like lesser infinity level, or basically depth 1 or 2 if I have to say. तो इसमें it is straightforward. अगर यहाँ पे हम only depth 1 तक करना चाहते हैं, then I can just write and logic, and जो depth है मेरा, if my depth is greater than 0, then just go ahead and flatten this out, and here what we can do is कि we will have to pass depth -1. So जैसे कि if we want to iterate through this, we'll have to reduce the depth also, because अगर हमको second depth तक करना है, तो we will recursively call flatten only 2 times. The remaining of the times it's going to go ahead and push it in final array, even if it is an array altogether, right? इसमें I have put in depth of 1 suppose. Now you can see that we have a flattened array up to depth of 1, and suppose I go ahead and put 2 here, 2 here, you can see that I have like a more flattened array according to the depth. I will continue to put 10 here because that is how it's going to give me a completely flattened array, right? Now we already have this function, right? Now how do we actually go ahead and write a polyfill for this? क्योंकि हमको polyfill लिखना है, we don't have to write a function which will actually go ahead and do this. So polyfills we basically are something which we actually attach to the prototypes. What are prototypes and all? This basically is not the scope of this. इसके लिए probably I'll have another video wherein I'll explain you about prototypal inheritance and what are all these. So I'll just attach my flat to a prototype, and then I'll just write a function and write a like this. And why I'm writing like this is basically, okay, one moment. Why I am writing like this is because we know that flat as a function doesn't actually receive the array. It actually receives one optional parameter as depth. So in accordance to that, I'll only receive one parameter as depth, and by default the value is 1 because it is an optional parameter, right? Now इसमें how do we get the array altogether, because we need the array, right? So for that, guys, this will actually contain the array. और अगर हम लोग यहाँ देख लेंगे if this is actually null, then we can just throw an error saying that array is undefined or null, right? I will just stop this console here. Okay, then what I can do is move this function inside of this, and then I can call flatten, and I'll call flatten using this comma the depth which I am receiving from here, right? So what is this basically? This will actually denote to the array which for जिसमें we actually will go ahead and apply or write my flat. So if I go ahead now and do console.log, and we have array2 dot my flat, of course, because it's a polyfill. I am getting this because I have to define this inside. I have this. Let me just quickly check why is it not working. All right, and now of course we will have to return the final array here. Return final array, of course, because ये flatten function हमने call तो कर लिया, but we are storing it in final array, and we have to go ahead and return the value. So now this will actually go ahead and work the similar way of the flatten function, and then if I go ahead and give any value, it will actually go ahead and flatten according to that. This is the first part of this polyfill, wherein you will have this done. Lekin there may be some cross questions which may come up, and that we are going to discuss. All right, so part 2 में basically let me go ahead and explain this by using a dry run, and उसके बाद we'll see some advanced things, but if you have understood something, understood this, you can probably go ahead and skip 1-2 minutes, or you can just go ahead and fast forward and play this as well. So यहाँ पे I can just go ahead and basically give you a dry run on how this is working. तो हमारे पास basically यह 2 है जो कि है 0 1 2 3 4 और 5, राइट? तो अब हमने फ्लैटन करके एक फंक्शन लिख दिया है, एंड फ्लैटन क्या कर रहा है कि array.to को लाइक ट्रैवर्स कर रहा है, and it will actually we have something called final array जिसमें हम लोग इसको पुश करेंगे. Otherwise we can just call flatten again. तो इनिशियली हमारा i 0 आया, ओके, एंड i 0 जब आया तो we basically checked कि okay, what is the value of ARR of i? It is 0, and we checked is it an array, and we found out that okay, no, 0 is actually not an array, so we did a final.array.push जो कि यहाँ पे 0 आ गया. Then i 1 हो गया, and then we checked कि okay, what is ARR of 1 is also 1, is it an array? No, तो फिर यहाँ पे 1 आ गया. Then I basically became 2, and ARR of 2 basically became this entire thing is ARR of 2, and then we said that okay, is it an array? That is when we said yeah, it is an array, so we'll not go ahead and do a final array but push all this flatten with this value, right? So abhi is flatten mein okay, let me the sidebar is actually a little bit disturbing. इस flatten में again we'll have recursion, यहाँ पे I होगा, ARR of I होगा, and here again I move to 0, और 0th element में क्या आया हमारा 2 है. We are checking कि okay, is 2 an array? No, so inserted into final array, तो यहाँ पे 2 insert हो गया. Then I will become again 1, तो यहाँ पे क्या है 3, 4, 5. We will again ask okay, is this an array? Yeah, this is an array. तो फिर बोल रहा है कि okay, move into another flatten. यहाँ पे फिर we will have I, ARR of I, and 0th element में what we have 3. Then we ask okay, is this an array? No, so 3 आएगा. Then we'll have 4 and 5, and then somebody asks okay, like not somebody, the compiler of course, कि okay, is this an array? Yes, तो फिर से flatten में जाओ, and then go ahead and keep on adding this. And this is how using recursion the flatten is going to work. I hope you have now some clarity on how this actually works. And moving on to little bit advanced is basically the interviewer can go ahead and ask, okay, can you just go ahead and add an empty element in this? How do we add an empty element? Like this. Okay, so I have an array 0, empty, and then I have 1. And then we can see that the default array.flat function actually does not considers the empty elements, right? Lekin we said, how will you handle this? Your polyfill has actually not handled this, because अगर आप हमारा कोड देखेंगे, we will take that only. We are actually considering these as empty or undefined values. So how do you actually go ahead and consider this? This may be here. Sometimes they may not ask, but many times they will go ahead and ask this also. The solution is pretty much simple. On the top of this, we can just go ahead and do a if condition, and then we can say that if I in ARR, if the value contains, then only we will go ahead and do this. Otherwise, we will just go ahead and skip this out. Okay, of course, we'll have to write this inside of this. Okay, now after adding this condition, you can see that okay, we are going through the loop, and then we are skipping anything which is empty or undefined. Okay, so I think that is all for this code sandbox. You can go ahead and have this code sandbox in the description. If you like this, do go ahead and subscribe to Code with DP, so that that inspires me to create more videos altogether. Thank you.